Chapter 51. When he finally managed to make it down to the cargo bay, Noble took one last look at the SV-52 and started cursing. The cast on his leg made walking possible, but painful. Fortunately, the autodoc had dosed him with enough local anesthetics to keep him from passing out. In a few hours, the nannies would start knitting things together, as well as repairing broken blood vessels and capillaries. Until then, however, he just had to fight through it. Dunn had contacted him over the block and told him they needed to start repairs. Noble had expected that call. While the other Marines could probably repair the two craft without his expertise, he was damned if he was going to let them touch his responsibilities. Trusting untrained grunts with printers, tools, and schematics was like arming chimps with nukes. Even with Black guiding them, they'd still fuck it up, and there had been enough disasters on this mission already. Gunny's squad, looking as though they needed showers and a shitload of rack time, stood next to the skiff, hands on their hips while Gunny walked around the damaged craft. He looked up and saw Noble. His normally expressionless face twitched into a smile. Noble couldn't help but smile back.
"Good to see you, sir,"
Gunny said. Noble nodded. "You as well, Gunny. Where's the Marine that shot that fucking thing?"
"Right here,"
Gunny said, and pointed to Copenhagen. Noble limped forward, wincing with every step, until he stood before her. "Good shooting, Marine. Had I been more conscious at the time, I would have thanked you then." "Thank you, sir," she said. He could tell she was trying to hide her smile, but it wasn't working. The whole damned crew seemed giddy. Considering what they'd been through, he wasn't all that surprised. He nodded at the skiff. "She's actually in pretty good condition, Gunny, considering."
"Aye, sir,"
Gunny said. "Captain Dunn tells me he wants more armor, though."
"Aye, sir,"
Gunny said.
"Apparently he's worried we might get attacked."
"Gee," Noble said. "I wonder why." He clapped his hands together. "Okay, Marines, we're going to ignore the skiff for the moment and get the SV-52 fixed. I need 3 crates of Atmo ink, 1 crate of micro, and 2 crates of plasteel."
"You heard the man,"
Gunny shouted. His squad left the skiff and headed to the crate line. "Gunny, thanks for saving our asses."
"My pleasure, sir."
The older Marine pointed at Noble's leg.
"Guessing that's hurting you pretty bad."
"Bad enough," Noble said. "Not as bad as getting my suit perforated."
"We got lucky,"
Gunny said.
"What happened out there?"
Noble sighed. "Had to repair the fin. The pine cones out there started getting frisky, so I took a trip to the tail. That's when that thing came out of nowhere. No idea why it decided to make a meal out of me." "Wrong place, wrong time," Talby said. Noble turned and gritted his teeth at the pain in his leg. He saluted. Talby returned it and offered his hand. Noble shook it with a smile. "Good to see you." "Same here. You going to help fix my bird?" "That piece of shit?" Noble asked. "Yeah, I'll help, but I expect a beer when we get back to Neptune." "Of course," Talby chuckled. "Now, we're on the clock, Noble. Captain Dunn gave me a block update," Noble said. "I've got all the particulars. Now I just need to walk everyone through what they need to do. I trust Black to give you instructions, but I'm not sure your apes could handle it." He paused and then bit his lip. "No offense, sir. No offense, Gunny." "You kidding?" Talby said with a laugh. "Damn glad you're here." Gunny's squad piled the crates near the printer. Noble connected his block to the device, ticked off the items he needed, and then waited for the Marines to load the crates into the printer. Within a few minutes, the 3D printer began manufacturing new cameras, new thrusters, and other components to fix the SV-52. Most modern vessels were equipped with a printer capable of using onboard materials to manufacture parts in emergencies. Sensor arrays, minor engine components, and even weapons could be fabricated while the ship was on a mission or traveling between the planets. Major damage, like ripped deck plates, failed drives, or nuclear reactors, still had to be repaired in dry dock. Marine support craft were expected to get damaged every mission. It was just a simple reality. Canopies shattered, weapon impacts damaged hulls, and occasionally a part simply failed. All those were the normal wear and tear of ripping and zipping through debris-cluttered space and suffering flechette round impacts. As each piece rolled out of the fabricator, Noble connected his block and checked it for defects. One of the camera lenses wasn't quite up to the quality he expected, but it would work in a pinch. If SFMC had upgraded their printer, he wouldn't even have to bother to check. When the assembly line finished, the squad put the new parts on a grav sled and transported them to the SV-52. Noble supervised the Marines, including Talby, as they cut, pulled, and dropped each damaged piece from the vehicle. Within 15 minutes, Talby's craft had new cameras, a new canopy, and new thrusters. Both Noble and Black double-checked and tested each new component. When that was finished, he and Black spent a moment deciding where to place new armor and how best to attach it. The fabricator rolled out meter squares of centimeter-thick Atmos steel. The squad welded the plates around the canopy and also buttressed the shields surrounding the thruster lines. If the creatures attacked Talby again, they'd have a much more difficult time breaking through the lines and damaging the thrusters. At least, Noble hoped that would be the case. 20 minutes. 20 minutes from the time they started to the time they finished repairing the SV-52. Next, the skiff. That was simpler. The skiffs had been designed to suffer brutal damage before becoming inoperable. Therefore, the components were hardened against EMP, impacts, and explosive rounds. It took a lot of damage to render a skiff inoperable. Repairing it and putting on a layer of extra armor took less than 10 minutes. Once both vehicles had been inspected a second time, Noble called it good. Black agreed with his assessment that they were ready for action. At Talby's direction, the squad cycled the crate loaders again, revealing 10 blue-colored crates. Noble blinked. "Sir, what the hell are those?" "Those," Talby said with a grin, "are our new weapons." The squad emptied the first crate of magazines, slotted them into their weapons, and filled the skiff's locker with more. They handed Talby 2 mags for his personal weapon and left a few more for reserve. After that, they started offloading warheads. Noble connected his block to each crate and read the description of their contents. His mind buzzed with a million different questions. At last, he made eye contact with Talby. "Sir, where the hell did we get these?" "Courtesy of the trio," Talby said. He and Copenhagen guided a grav sled of warheads and cannon munitions to the SV-52. "But why? I mean, why the hell does this shit even exist?" Talby shook his head. "I don't know, Robert. I don't even know if half this shit is going to work. I only know that PFC Copenhagen here managed to practically destroy that creature with one shot of this new ammo." He shrugged. "That's enough for me." Noble paused while Talby and Copenhagen filled his cannon and launchers with the new munitions. "Sir, you ever get the feeling we're not getting the whole story?" "Yep," Talby said. "And believe me, when this is all over, I'm having a long talk with those AIs about the shit they've put us through." "Copy that," Noble said. He turned and watched as the rest of the squad, including Gunny, finished outfitting the skiff. He didn't know what game they'd be hunting out there, but they were certainly prepared for it. He hoped. Chapter 52. The cut panel fell into the room. Dickerson watched through the rear cam feed as Kalimura turned off the cutting beam and placed it back in her belt. Her suit light stabbed through the gloom. She turned her head slowly from side to side, her rifle raised and ready to fire at anything that moved. Dickerson couldn't help but grin. If they lived through this, he'd be happy to be in her squad full time. The lady knew what she was doing.
"I think we're clear,"
she said over the comms.
"Just be prepared for some more corpsicles." "Great,"
Carb said.
"Ever wonder what would happen if you smashed them with a hammer?"
She said with a giggle. "Carb," Dickerson groaned. "You are one sick woman." Kalimura stepped through the opening and into the auxiliary bridge. Carbonaro took her time, ensuring she didn't shred Elliot's flimsy suit on the metal edges. Once inside, Dickerson walked backward until he was a few centimeters from the hatch. He took one last look around to clear the area and entered the auxiliary bridge. Dickerson rose from his crouch and stopped cold. Kalimura hadn't been kidding about the corpses. Unlike most of the others they'd seen, these were intact, as though the bridge crew had died from exposure rather than by human hands. He blinked. except that was for the small round holes in their foreheads. Someone had executed them.
Dickerson,
Kelly Morris said.
can you put the hatch back together, at least well enough to give us some containment?
Probably, Corporal, he said. He turned, lifted the metal cutout, and placed it back into the doorway. After pulling a welder from his belt, he began applying spot patches. The operation took less than 2 minutes. It was a shit job, but it was enough to keep the area closed off. If the pine cones tried to get through, he doubted they could. But the multi-armed thing? He was pretty sure its appendages could wreck through the repair without a problem. However, the creatures they'd seen thus far were too large to fit through the gap. He hoped like hell they didn't come in smaller varieties. When he turned back to face the room, he noticed the corporal standing near the starboard bulkhead. She examined the wall, lifting and dropping her head for a few seconds, and then moving another step and repeating the exercise. "Corporal, what's going on?" he asked.
Looking for O2.
She said.
Can't tell me you're not getting low.
She was right. In another 15 minutes, he'd be on emergency reserves. Elliot probably had the most oxygen of all of them, but only because he hadn't been exerting himself. Lucky him. Dickerson thought of his decapitated hand and suddenly felt like an asshole. Kelly Moore halted.
Oh, yeah.
She whispered. He watched as she touched a panel and an O2 station swung out from the wall.
Carb, you and Elliot top off.
She said.
Dickerson, go to the navigation console.
Ah, Corporal, he said. He mag-walked between two of the floating corpses, his eyes focused straight ahead rather than looking closely at the bodies. He'd already seen too many glassy eyes and frozen, terrified faces locked in eternal screams. The navigation console was easy to pick out. Although the tech was more than 50 years old, it hadn't changed much in that time, for the most part. The curved console allowed navigators a nearly 270-degree view of the space around their ship, planetary maps, or charts. In conjunction with an AI, navigators could pilot nearly any size ship through crowded asteroid belts and shipping lanes. The occasional impact with stray debris and solar material was unavoidable, but the systems were more than adequate to keep ships from sustaining catastrophic damage. The console was clean except for runners of frost. The chair at the station had no blood or other substances. He looked around the room, checking for hints of silver, but found nothing. The room had been completely sealed when the ship lost life support.
Strange,
Kelly said. What's that, Corporal? Dickerson asked. He checked his HUD and found her in his rear cam feed. She had uncovered a storage area inside one of the walls.
EVA suits, 5 of them.
She turned and scanned the room.
They didn't bother putting them on.
Carp grunted.
Huh. Maybe they knew it was hopeless. No point in prolonging the inevitable. Maybe,
Kelly said. Or, Dickerson said, they were shot before they had a chance. Kelly didn't reply. Console is clean, he said. No damage I can see.
Check for a generator, Dickerson. I don't see one over here,
Kelly said. He leaned down and flashed his light beneath the metal console. No generator. Shit. Not here either, Corporal.
Boss?
Carp said. She was mag-locking Elliot to the wall.
There's a panel over there behind the command console.
Dickerson turned and looked. Carp was right. How the hell did you see that?
Easy,
Carp said as she turned around.
I checked my camera feed. Good catch, Carb,
Kelly said. Dickerson watched as Kelly headed to the raised dais at the back of the room. She reached the panel and pressed it. An emergency generator swung out from the wall.
There we go,
she said. She pumped the handle several times. A few lights appeared, all of them red. She continued pumping, the lights turning yellow and eventually green. The overheads stuttered to life, bathing the room in a dim glow that still seemed too bright after all the darkness.
Shit,
Kelly said. He immediately saw what she was looking at. A completely intact corpse sat in the captain's chair, a tight red ponytail floating over one shoulder. One of the woman's hands clenched a small pistol in a frozen death grip. Unlike all the other faces he'd seen, hers wasn't etched in a mask of terror and pain. Instead, she looked almost peaceful.
Well,
Carb said.
Guess we know who killed everybody.
Callimora's head continued staring at the figure.
Dickerson, how's the console?
He turned back to the navigation console. A single status light glowed green. Console is live, Corporal.
Never mind.
Callimora chuckled. What? He asked.
The command console.
She said.
It's right here.
She loosed a long sigh into the mic.
This might just work.
Her hand moved to the console, and the holo display stuttered into life. He was on the wrong side of the display to see what she was looking at, so he left the navigation console and headed to the dais. Callimora was frozen in place as she stared at the display. When he was close enough to see what was on it, he froze too. A woman peered at them from the hologram. Her blue jumpsuit had captain's chevrons, and a braid of long red hair floated behind her. The figure stood rather than sat, her mag boots keeping her attached to the deck. She held a small pistol in her right hand.
What is it?
Carb asked. Callimora stuttered slightly.
I think it's the captain.
She said.
Guess the display was programmed to go to her message before allowing us to see anything else. Well?
Carb said.
Play it, boss. Let's see what the ghost has to say.
Dickerson walked to the console and stood beside Callimora, the two of them staring into the display. Connecting my block, Callimora said. Seconds ticked off like years. Dickerson was beginning to wonder if she would even be able to connect with the old tech when he received a block communication invite from Callimora. He accepted it, and his HUD lit up with the same image he'd seen on the display. The recording started. The woman's eyes looked terrified and furtive. She kept glancing off screen before she spoke, the pistol pointed at nothing in particular.
This is Captain Kovacs,
she said.
I am Mira's commanding officer for Ship 2. If you found this recording, then you have already made a grave mistake.
Dickerson felt a chill. Kovacs's pale face and expression made him realize the woman knew she was already dead. Hopelessness and terror seemed to be the only emotions left. The deep shadows under her eyes indicated she hadn't slept well in days, if she'd slept at all.
We made it to the target. The resources were far richer than we'd hoped,
she said.
The mining crew found veins of titanium, selenium, tungsten, and polonium. Our initial survey confirmed dwarf planet 8XJ has enough minerals and metals to keep humanity going for at least another 100 years. And 8XJ is only one of 10 we found.
The captain paused for a moment, her eyes staring at the pistol in her hand. A shiver racked her, and she turned back to the camera.
After bringing aboard the first dozen samples for testing, the mining crew began refinery operations. Most of the minerals were easy to extract, but we found something inside one of the samples.
The haunted look on Kovacs's face made his skin crawl. The captain continued, her bright, terrified eyes glittering.
The concentrations of lead hid it from us at first, but the sample had low-level radioactivity. The engineers extracted an object from the sample.
She touched something on the console, and an image appeared on the screen. Her image shrunk in size as a large polyhedron with smooth sides appeared on the display next to her. The object rotated slowly. Dickerson's mouth opened as the image zoomed in on one panel. Nubs and glyphs surrounded a single recessed circle. Holy shit, Dickerson breathed.
Shut it,
Callimora said. Kovacs' expression changed from the haunted look to one of wonder.
It's the first proof humankind has of exosolar intelligent life. The object is perfect,
she said.
Perfectly symmetrical and crafted. The markings on the panel indicate some kind of language that our AI was unable to decipher.
Her expression dropped back into despair.
But that doesn't matter now. After 2 standard days in our cargo bay and hundreds of tests, the engineering team was unable to scan the object's interior or penetrate the material. Upon further inspection,
the image zoomed in on the recessed circle in the panel.
The engineering team realized the recessed area in the panel indicated a smaller object lodged inside. A key.
The captain shook her head.
We shouldn't have touched it. We shouldn't have removed it. But we did.
A new image appeared. It was of the cylinder Dickerson had found on Mira's hull. His mouth dropped open, and his hand stroked the pouch containing the alien object. Kovacs wiped a tear from her eye.
Thomas Reed, lead scientist, made the call to extract it. 2 days later, the polyhedron, what we now call the beacon, loosed its first radiation pulse. 5 of the crew were vaporized and the cargo bay was immediately irradiated. The pulse burned through the bay's aft wall and into the engineering section. After that,
she said, her lip quivering.
the pods began to appear.
The image of a pine cone replaced the polyhedron and the cylinder pictures.
Other creatures followed soon after.
The screen vibrated with static for a moment, and Kovac's eyes glanced upward at the ceiling.
I don't have much time,
She said.
We've lost life support, and the fusion drives are offline. Most of the crew is dead. I only have a few minutes of oxygen left on the bridge, but I'll freeze to death long before that runs out.
She wiped a hand across her mouth and shivered.
If you find this message, you must find the cylinder. We think it's the key to turning off the beacon. Engineer Stevens stole it and placed it somewhere on the ship before going on a homicidal rampage. We have no idea where he put it.
I do, Dickerson murmured. The captain continued.
Our last communication with SFGov ordered us to transmit all research materials and records of our findings of both the dwarf planets, the creatures, and the beacon.
She shook her head.
A day later, the ship's AI set us on a course to return to Sol System. It has locked us out. Soon after, the creatures ate the fusion drives and all radioactive material aboard the ship.
She chuckled with manic grief.
If you're watching this, you know what happened next. We are traveling fast enough to stay ahead of the giants, but if the beacon continues its pulses, Reed believes the giants will follow. If the beacon reaches Sol System, every hostile life form we've encountered will follow. You must find the key and deactivate the beacon. You must.
She dropped her eyes to the floor and clutched her arms around herself. She was shivering. A sad smile crossed her face.
It won't be long now,
she said.
I'll be dead in a few minutes. I never thought freezing to death would be the best way to go out,
she said, and held the pistol up.
I'm out of ammo.
She chuckled again, but it also sounded like a sob. Kovac's eyes hardened.
Tell SFGov to fuck itself, and tell the trio they could have saved us.
Her breath turned to smoke, ice crystals appearing in the air around her.
They could have saved us.
The last words came out in a shivering stutter. Then the recording stopped. No one spoke. Dickerson looked at the bodies. He saw the neat holes in their foreheads, all except for Kovac's herself. Pistol shots. The captain had killed each Verkerman crew, a mercy killing rather than an execution. Damn, but the lady had been hard.
What the fuck?
Elliot wheezed over the comms.
What the fuck do we do now?
Dickerson waited for Mira to say something. After another moment of silence, he touched her shoulder. She stiffened and then turned her helmet to face him. Corporal?
Comms,
She said.
Find the goddamn comms, now!
Chapter 53. Dunn rubbed at his eyes. The hollow display showed columns of numbers and equations. The numbers kept blurring. He closed his eyes, paused for a beat, and then opened them again. The world came back into focus. Black and Oakes went over each instruction, each force calculation, and the navigation changes necessary to tow Mira without tearing her apart. It was going to be tricky. Even if everything went the way they planned, the giant ship's hull could still crack or shatter. If that happened, they'd have to jettison her to keep S&R Black safe. Considering the shit show the mission had turned out to be, he'd have little to no regret for that outcome.
Captain,
Black said through block communications. Dunn raised an eyebrow. The computer's voice continued speaking to Oakes as though Dunn didn't exist. The audio dissonance confused his mind. Why are you speaking block to block?
I wanted to give you the information and let you decide who needs to hear it.
The AI said. Well, go ahead then.
I have established communications with Corporal Calimora.
Dunn sat straight in his chair. Can you put them over the speakers?
Yes, Captain.
Black said. Then do it already, he said aloud. Oakes turned to him. Do what? The pilot asked as the speakers crackled to life.
Calimora to Black. Come in, Black.
Dunn grinned. Corporal, this is Dunn. There was a pause.
Thank the gods,
Calimora said. Good to hear your voice, Corporal. What's your status? Another pause.
Our comms are bad here, sir. Mira's arrays were significantly damaged. We only have shortwave and data block comms.
Understood, Corporal. Any casualties? The speakers crackled with static.
Elliot, other than that, fine.
Dunn licked his lips. Corporal, you broke up. Try again.
Elliot lost a hand, sir. He's in a non-combat EVA suit. Other than some broken ribs, a damaged rotator cuff, and concussion symptoms, we're fine, sir.
Dunn and Oakes traded a glance. Were you able to find medical facilities?
Sort of, sir. Elliot stabilized and...
Try again, Dunn said.
Elliot is stabilized, and we have oxygen. Sir, we reached the auxiliary bridge. I'm squirting a data stream to Black now. She should have it in a few minutes. Long story short, sir, we're in big trouble.
Tell us something we don't know, Oakes muttered. Corporal, what trouble?
Sir, there's an artifact on board Mira. It's attracting forms.
Her voice sounded stressed, frantic, and nearly manic, but the breaks of static made it difficult to understand her. What? Say again, Corporal. All after artifact.
It's attracting life forms, sir.
Dunn's skin crawled at the word.
The pine cones are only the bottom of the food chain, sir, and there's...
Another wash of static covered her voice. God damn it, Oakes whispered. Dunn glared at him. Black, can't you do something to boost the signal?
Trying, Captain.
The AI said through the block. Corporal, Dunn said. Repeat all.
The pine cones, sir. They're at the bottom of the food chain. We found another organism that preys on them, and there are more coming.
More? Dunn said to no one.
Yes, sir.
Callie said.
More are coming.
The comms went silent. Dunn's mind spun. The incoming KBOs, the warnings Mickey had sent, the distant cloud Black had spoken of. He was sending the rest of the Marines out to connect S&R Black to Mira. Did they have time to move before...
Captain, you still there?
Callie asked in a plaintive voice. Yes, Corporal. He swallowed hard. Have you found any escape pods?
We haven't had a chance to look yet, sir. They should be...
Find them. Port side if possible. As soon as you finish the data upload, find them. Report once you have. We'll need to coordinate a pickup.
Aye, sir. One more thing, sir.
Callie said.
We have the key to the beacon.
Dunn heard her words, but his brain vapor-locked on their meaning. Key? What key? He asked.
Sir, when Black...
Her voice cut out into a wash of static, syllable gibberish occasionally breaking through. Callie, say again. More static, more gibberish. Corporal? Adrenaline spiked in his veins. Corporal, repeat. What about a key?
There was a key to the beacon, sir. They removed it, and that's what started it pulsing.
He frowned. You have the key?
Aye, sir.
Hang on to it. Find the pods. Update me as soon as you find them. Understood?
Aye, sir.
She said in a strong, confident voice. Good hunting, Corporal. Dunn out. Oakes looked at Dunn. Sir, what the hell is she talking about? Black spoke through the speakers, making both men jump.
Captain, I have received the information, such as it is.
The image of a strange geometric shape appeared on the holo display. It floated like an instrument of doom, slowly rotating before his eyes. One of the panels had a cylindrical gap in it. The key. They unlocked it. Black, I need you to analyze that data, and fast, Dunn said. I need to know if we can destroy the beacon.
Yes, Captain,
Black said.
Although I'm not sure we can.
He and Oakes exchanged a glance. What do you mean? Dunn asked. The AI paused for a moment. Columns of element abbreviations and numbers appeared on the screen. Nearly all of the element names were blank, except for two.
The object appears to be constructed of a number of unknown elements as well as stable isotopes of tungsten and polonium far above known theoretical models. Mira's scientists and engineers attempted to penetrate the object using all known technologies, including high-level radiation waves. The beacon, as they call it, remained impenetrable. If it is capable of high-level gamma-ray dispersal, it's very doubtful a nuclear blast would destroy it. At least that was the conclusion of Mira's scientists.
Oh, shit, Oakes said. You mean that thing is calling all life forms to come and get us and we have no way to destroy it?
That is exactly what I mean, Captain.
Black said.
Kelly Moore's squad will have to disable it.
Oakes blinked. What if they don't? Black paused.
Then the exosolar life forms will take up residence in the Kuiper Belt and follow the beacon wherever it goes.
Fuck, Dunn said. What if we just leave Mira out here? Get Kellimore's squad off Mira and just, I don't know, let it float?
Unknown,
Black said.
but there is a better than 5% chance those life forms will move deeper into Sol system. Depending on their food preferences as well as their biological needs, they may ultimately find their way to human colonies, or to Earth.
Oak shook his head. This is bullshit. Why don't we just let the incoming KBO smash her to bits?
Inadvisable.
Black said.
If a nuclear explosion is unlikely to destroy the object, Mira's destruction would simply result in the beacon being jettisoned, possibly deeper into Sol system.
Dunn's stomach churned with acid. Black, open a connection to Kellymora. Now.
Corporal Kellymora is no longer in range, sir. She and her squad must have left the auxiliary bridge.
Dunn smashed a fist on the holo console. The pain in his fingers cut through the confusion and indecision. Keep trying, Black. He looked at Oakes. We need to get this fucking ship moving, and then we get our Marines back and find a way to deactivate the goddamn beacon. Oakes just stared with an open mouth. Rage rose in his mind. Do it! Now! Derelict Tomb is copyright 2017 by Paul E. Cooley. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Some sounds courtesy of freesound.org. Derelict Tomb is available in ebook and trade paperback from Amazon.com. Published by Severed Press. This has been a presentation of shadowpublications.com, where some mysteries shouldn't be solved.